So at this point, I've made my mandala, and actually, if you look at the earlier video, it was a different one. It's because I've created three different wedges, so I went ahead and made two different versions. Let me show you. That's one, and then I don't know where the next one starts. I think it's right here. So I'm just mousing down, and I have that one too. And you might have a favorite. What you're going to have to do at this point is take a look at them, and I would recommend zooming in for a moment and just making sure everything's lined up in a manner that looks good for you. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here, because you definitely want to do some adjustments potentially. So I know this is this pie wedge down here. So if I click on this, let me grab this one. If I nudge this, you want to avoid stuff like this, right? Where you can see a gap, or for example, maybe it's lined up and there's no gap, but like, look at this. Like that looks terrible. Take the time with your move tool and make sure everything is in place. So once you have that done, and I would like you to make two different versions um, of the mandala, because you have at least three wedges. So you choose which two you want to use. You can make all three if you want to. Once you make one, you realize it's not that hard to go back and do the other one. But at this point, what I've got, and when I'm happy with my mandala, I can take this, select, again, so click on the first layer and the last layer that I want, and I could either group these if I wanted to keep them separate, which might be a good idea just in case. So that's all group, and I'll call that mandala 1. And I'll do the same thing up here. So click, hold down the shift key. Oops, I should probably make these all visible just so I know what I'm doing here. So I'm grabbing these ones, and then I'm going to, again, group them. I'll call this mandala 2. Okay. And once I have that done, the next step, you want to make sure your template, by the way, that's that thing that has all the lines there that you use. Make sure that's invisible. I'm going to just keep everything else invisible now too. But at this point, what I can do is take each of these mandalas and start thinking about a background for it. So how do you create a background for a mandala? Well, there's lots of ways. One of the ways, which is pretty easy, which you know from the layers project, if I just make a new layer, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and create a gradient. Let's see, this is an easy one, right? So I'm going to go to my gradient tool, double click on this, and I think I'd like to have sample colors from my mandala, so I'm going to click here. Oops, let me see, whoopsie, try that. So, and sample this, or maybe not. Okay, so I have that color, and I'm going to grab, I guess it doesn't sample it. There is a way to sample it, but I can't remember what it is. So I can, I can create different colors here. I can move them around. I can do whatever I want. And if I'm happy with what I have, and I think I have too much stuff, I'm going to delete this color here. I don't need all that. Kind of like that purple there. I'm going to keep that, move that out. Maybe I want this to be, I don't know, a radial gradient. Come from the center and move out. And that looks cool, actually. Or maybe I want it to be linear. So let's see what this looks like. That's cool too. Although I kind of like the radial gradient. Or maybe I want, here's a flag where I get kind of like that, right? And obviously the amount you drag gives you different things. Although I feel like this is kind of too standalone, so I'm going to play around with this. Check this out. Here's another option. Ooh, let me go back to center. I'll show you how cool this is. Watch what I can do. I've already got the work done. I'm going to take mandala to the group, and I'm going to copy it, make this one invisible, and I am going to go ahead and show transform controls, and I'm going to make this really, 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 really big. And I'm holding the Option and the Shift key down. If I only hold the Shift key down, I get that. If I hold the Option down, I get this, which I can do. So I'm going to hold the Option and the Shift key down, make this really big, and then I can put it like underneath the original mandala. Ooh, that looks cool. Boom. And, and what the heck, I'll use blending layers. Why not? And blend this in with the gradient I just, oh yeah, there we go. Ta-da! So that could be a background right there. But the idea is to get creative and do something, oh, I really like that, a little bit different with your background. Don't just leave it with what you have. And try out a couple different options. Make 2 different backgrounds for each of your different mandala designs, but that's the goal, is to make 2 completely different mandalas from 2 different wedges, and then add in a background that you feel complements your design in some way.